Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WBENC, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It podcast. We are so excited that you are here. Women Who Own It is brought to you by WBENC, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses. Women Who Own It is for women business leaders, brought to you by women business leaders. And we highlight amazing business owners, CEOs, and founders that have been in the trenches. They've had the ups, they've had the downs, and they're here to make the road a little bit easier for you. So today I'm super excited on Women Who Own It. My name is Allison Maslin. I'm the founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to grow and scale their business. So our guest today, Purvari founder and artist Purvi Sahu, began her career as an actress and classical dancer. As a young model, Purvi's skin revolted under the layers of heavy makeup and harsh lights. And in search of a healthy complexion, Purvi turned to her mother and grandmother, Ayurveda practitioners, knowledgeable in the ancient wisdom of a 3,000-year-old herbal tradition. I love all this stuff, blending natural herbs and plants inspired by her own firsthand knowledge of the restorative power of these plants. Purvi created Purvari, an organic rosewater and mist product line designed to nurture the complexion with wholesome, chemical-free nourishment that's as pristine and natural as your skin itself. So Purvi, welcome to Women Who Own It.
Thank you for having me. Wow, you got me in the mood with that introduction. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, I love what you are up to. And so I would just love for our listeners on the podcast today to learn more about you. Your background, your history behind Purvari is so fascinating. Can you share how it all began?
Well, the first part you definitely covered, and the part that really propelled me on this journey was when my second son, Ari, was born. At 3 months, he suffered, extreme eczema, and it was heart-wrenching to see a child scratching himself when he did not even know how to lift his head at one point, right? He was not crawling or whatever, could not express himself. And I could see like scratch marks all over his body. And I was desperate to find out, how did this happen to my son when we had no history? After a lot of research and multiple doctor's visits and everything to different pediatricians, one came up and told me, if you took care of what you ate, it was possibly what you put on your body. And my whole world sort of crashed at that point. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I was using perfumes. Yes, I was using different creams. It all came to me at once. And I decided something needs to be done about it. The second eureka moment came when one day, just in crossing, I was walking on Fillmore Street in San Francisco and entered a Credo beauty shop. And I sprayed a rose water over there. And I was like, why does this smell like this? Why does it smell like compost? It's made out of roses. Like, how is this happening? So one to the other, and no offense, but it did not smell like roses. And I come from India, where I've seen how this thing is done in its original state. And so, long story short, I felt like I could do this. There was a need for it. There was the need for good products that were not over treated, over macerated, or boiled or burned. I felt like I could make a difference within the space. And that was the start of Purvari, which, by the way, is my name and Ari. So Purvi, Ari, Purvari.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you had a personal experience in it to see
Yes.
and then see the transformation. That's so fascinating. And I can't wait to dive in, learn about the business and, what you've learned along the way. As a side, I was a homeopathic physician for 20 years. So I love the natural side of your products. And can you share a little bit of what Ayurveda is and how you incorporate that into Purvari?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So Ayurveda is basically finding cures, treatments, and relief through nature, through plant-based solutions. Ayurveda is a science, it's a proven science. We tend to be in denial, but back in the days when human beings were like going through evolution, what did they have? Did they have pharmaceutical companies? No. They relied on plants and animals and nature around them to help them cure their ailments. What is interesting, a lot of times due to all the news that surrounds us, we tend to miss out on information that already exists that we should, I feel, strive to search. And there's so much out there, things like, the tribes in the Congo region, for example, which is a very unique part of the world, have cures for things like malaria through plants. They don't need any vaccinations per se. But those medicinal plants haven't really made it to other parts of the world because people have not asked for those. They've not demanded those alternatives. I have personally firsthand experienced within my family someone having kidney stones and how they were able to treat their kidney stones without going through a surgery. They just had to consume this concoction of a blend of herbs, and their kidney stones were washed out. So Ayurveda is amazing if you only dive into it. And how it works in Purvari is we believe in nature first, in natural therapy, and it's plant-based and as chemical-free a solution as possible. So we use the principle as a guideline and incorporate it into Purvari.
I love it. I love it. And I do know some about Ayurveda and is absolutely so fascinating. And I truly do believe the resources are out there in the plant world for us that can be transformative. And
Absolutely.
so I would also love to know, and then we'll dive into kind of the business aspect of it. If you can share how Purvari contributes to your love for wanting nature to remain healthy and pure on this planet, because in a sense, I mean, you're helping people with their skin, but you're also helping the planet. And I believe we are in a space and time where when a business has a cause that it is, part of that people are really, that has meaning to them.
Absolutely. And that is the space that we chose to belong in. I think now more than ever, there is this alarming call to all of us, and we need to pay heed to that call that, nature is screaming at us with the type of over consuming habits that we all have fallen trap to. The idea of needing everything, wanting everything at any cost. There are a few types of businesses. Some they're all about the end goal being money, and achieving the benchmark on the financial stratosphere, versus companies like us today who are trying to disrupt this very this monster, saying stop. There are different ways, and urging the consumer, urging the audience to make the right decision, go slow, go the Japanese way in terms of minimalism. Thank God I've learned it thanks to some of my family being Japanese, that more is less versus less is more. I mean, how can you adjust within your means and what you have? And do you really need that extra piece that you're going after? Do you really need to use those resources? Do you really need everything that new or that much? So coming back to Purvari, one of the things we do, actually several things that we do, is we are focused on who our supplier is. Do they practice good manufacturing behavior? We also ensure that the ingredients, especially the natural ones that we source, are not coarsely manufactured. So where possible, we do not use machines. For example, the roses or the plants that we have are procured from deep down in India so far within the 2 product range, and they are all handpicked. So the farmers get sustained. So not only do we take care of the flora and fauna that surrounds our ingredients that we secure it from, we definitely pay more because we do labor instead of machine. But by that, we also avoid the coarse manufacturing where machines just blow through an entire farm within no time. But like, you haven't taken care of the birds that have been there, or the insects or plants or whatever. So that's one way. And then on top of it, we also support our farmers. They eat out of the land. We support their families. These kids get educated, unlike not actually, in other parts of the world that can be an issue, but we ensure that everybody who works is supported, and we only take our ingredients from farmers and manufacturers that assure us of these practices.
Yeah. Wow. I love that holistic perspective, really, between the farmer and the land, and then of course, all the people that are consuming the products as well. I love the whole picture.
Thank you.
So diving into some of the business things that you've learned along the way, what advice would you have for those listening who want to grow their business in a competitive market? Because you are in a competitive market. Beauty is a big market. There's, billions and billions of dollars spent on beauty products, pandemic or no pandemic. But how do you stand out in a competitive market? Is there anything that you've learned along the way that's important?
Oh my gosh, as you rightly mentioned, it is uber competitive. There's a lot of noise. First of all, you need to know how passionate you are as a founder and as someone who's probably, I'm assuming, just starting off. Know yourself first, know your goals, know your market, and how are you going to manage sending and sharing that message to the larger audience? And then what is your bottom line? I mean, where are you going with this? These are very important points to sort of build your base up and then start working from there and scaling from there. This is really important.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? That's such good advice. Before you go out there and make more noise, you really have to know these things and then how to communicate them. So
right.
People get it. And I love this. And then tying it back to the bottom line, of course.
Yes, of course.
In all of this, so what are some things that you have learned along the way that, maybe you wish that you would have known when you started, that might have saved you some grief?
Oh my God, let me help save other people some grief, right?
Yeah.
Where do I begin? Let me think. I think don't go wide-eyed into it. Do your research. I wish I would have done more in terms of definitely knowing what type of finances it would have taken to get into the space. It's uber competitive. And I mean, everyone is in the space, right from the Chanels of the world to the LVMH group to, in the natural space. Again, I mean, there's a Gwyneth Paltrow out there, and these people come with a certain background and natural backing that someone who is not from a particular industry or family or whatever might not have. Case in point was me. I knew what to do with my formulas. I knew what to do with a brand because I had some experience there. But in the large part, getting into a new market and a challenging new space was definitely something that I should have done more research on. But you know, at the end of the day, it's, do you have fire in your belly and enough enough purpose in your mind to go through it? It's not like I want to do beauty because I'm capable of putting my face out there. Honestly, I rarely put my face out on my business, which is a good and a bad thing actually. But please be ready to put your face out there, of course.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you have fire in your belly, you will get through, but it's not an overnight journey. So tell yourself this, it's not an overnight journey. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So there you have
it. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you have that fire in your belly, it's going to keep you going along, you know, and of course, getting the support from other business owners is really key.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you nailed it there. You know, one of the things that I would love to share is you are only as good as your team, and you are only as good as the support system that surrounds you. If you are not surrounded by the right group and mindset of people, it can become very difficult. And I say this based on my experience. So I'm very grateful about the people, my immediate family that surrounds me, be it my mom, be it my husband, of course, who always keeps pushing me, my kids. But then there's also the team that works with me. And this is a crucial point when you build a team, because you can't be a lone soldier in this market. There are so many verticals that you are only going to be as good as they perform. Remember that. So that's an important point to remember.
Yeah. And I mean, in life too, right? Who you surround yourself, because it's either going to lift you up or bring you down, or keep you in limbo. I love that your family is behind you. And I think for women business owners, they really struggle with that sometimes, trying to balance it all. And so having that support system is really key. Now, many business owners struggle with the marketing side of their business. I think it's one of the things that, well, it's constantly changing, first of all, constantly changing. So what have you learned in the marketing arena, you know, in your journey, and what has been the best marketing for Purvari that you've found?
Well, in our case, being still, I consider ourselves a startup. You know, I haven't reached my goals yet, so pardon me there. But I think the strategy, particularly that has worked for me, is staying in the know with market trends. Again, I am a voracious reader, so I do get my information that I'm processing constantly, and then staying nimble with the trends. And hoping that, you know, you're at par with the trends that are foreseeably coming in the future. So staying nimble is extremely important in a startup environment, because things change, trends are changing so rapidly. And needless to say that it's an extremely volatile market and unpredictable right now, especially the pandemic and especially the shutdown. So how do you navigate this is stay light with your investments and commitments, know how much you are comfortable putting in, so you don't suffer sleepless nights. Again, I predict it'll happen, but you know,
you'll have them anyway, and it's part of the deal. Anyway. So yeah, I think that it is, you know, I mean, it can be very confusing with marketing, especially now. I mean, I had an ad agency many, many years ago, like pre-internet. There were less choices. It was radio, television, PR, you know, some ads in a magazine. Now, every day, it's something different.
Hashtag,
yes,
influencer.
Yeah.
What buzzword is trending? I mean, there's so much more, and it continues to evolve. And how do you keep up? It's finding the spot that works for you. It's different strokes for different folks, and not everybody has the robust sort of revenue to invest to, let's say, throw an ad during the NFL football versus, the popular show on NBC or what have you. So how do you make it work for you? And this is where you will have to find your sweet spot and then go with it and find your market accordingly.
Yeah. It's kind of ties back to what you were saying earlier, and really understanding your market and how to communicate to them, and just running so many businesses myself and working with so many business owners. It's really what I see is talking to the right people.
Yes.
With the right offer,
Yes.
something they want, and then the right messaging so they understand it. And I think that applies to, it doesn't matter whether you're doing a Facebook Live or you're doing the Super Bowl commercial. It's still those three things have to really match up.
Absolutely. People who believe in your vision, people who believe in your cause and what you're doing, people who like you and are at par with, they vibe with you correctly. So then the rest goes in a flow. Like they'll be there. Look, there's the good news is we are all human beings, and being in the business, remember one thing, there's always room for negotiation. If you receive the right vibe from the person and you think that you will have the pizzazz to deliver back as well, then there is room for growth in a partnership. So don't be afraid to ask and test it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You definitely have to move beyond being shy. You can't be shy.
Yes.
Now, and so when you first started Purvari, what were some of the, or even last week, who knows, have been some of the biggest mistakes that you've made that have taught you the most? Because I think, right, that's like, we're either growing or learning.
Growing or learning. Yeah. And a mistake is not failure till you give up,
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what a sensitive question. Well, okay, I will share. I came with eyes bright and full of hopes and dreams. Let me start there. So don't do that. Do your research. Remember, I said that before. No, I think the common mistake is I'm driven by the goodness of people. I'm driven in just my personal approach, and this is really applicable to me. And I was naive. I trusted easy. And in this particular business that I am in, there were a lot of people who knew the buzzwords and showed you the moon and the stars and demanded a lot of money for it, because of course that is what it takes specifically in this industry. And I went ahead with it, made the common pitfalling mistakes of paying the money, not getting the results, not knowing how to fall back. So that was a journey within itself. So I would say be wary, do your background checks. I think this is very important. A lot of times we just go with the glitter, but everything that glitters is not gold. Remember that. Yeah. So, and then through those mistakes and everything, of course, none the wiser. I mean, we are definitely in a better spot now than we were during that time. But yeah, definitely do your background checks with who you're working with.
Yeah, that is such great advice. And I think that, we see someone else working with someone, or we heard about someone, you still need to talk to people that have worked with them, do your own due diligence, not just the ones they have on their website.
Exactly.
You have to dig deeper. And I think we've all gone through that pain of writing big checks and just, having to swallow that later.
Where did this person go?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's the worst feeling. And
numbers blocked.
Websites and everything. So definitely, that is great advice. And, that's probably in any area of your business too, right? Like your team, everything.
Yeah. There are, of course, legalities involved. It's always good to have a lawyer on your side, especially if you have a business that is worth its salt and, consumer facing. It's important that, you have checks and measures taken to protect yourself as well. So all of this, when you're an entrepreneur, you want this base taken care of,
Yes,
right from the
yeah,
get-go.
great advice. I think too, we're moving so quickly sometimes
That is
that we don't take the time to just stop and really think this through. It's like, oh yeah, that's the answer. Yes. And then,
yes.
And
you're suddenly like, you're found yourself in this corner and you're like, oh, how did this happen? I'm stuck in this quicksand and get me out. Like, and don't do that to yourself, I would say. No, don't go into it so fast. Slow and steady.
Yeah, that is such great advice. When I think of things like building a team or, your best scaling strategy for Purvari, what can you share there? We've got business owners that are listening. And again, they want to soak it all up and learn, what's the thing that is going to get us to move that needle forward that you could share?
Look, the goal when you start right from the get-go is about scaling. So that's a given. How fast you do it, if you're starting up, and based on that speed, the pitfalls that'll come is a ratio you want to ask yourself. Now, nobody has a bowl, a looking glass to look into. So I understand that. But the safest way, and I think this has definitely worked for us. I'm almost thankful there was like this superior spiritual power guiding me almost, where we went slow, we went steady. We did not go from 0 to 100, forget 0 to 100, but from even 0 to 60 within months. Even though we had the capabilities, we decided to wet our feet, go into it slowly. And that has worked for us immensely in the long run. Fact being, nobody knew that there was going to be a dip in the market in 2019. And then that followed by the complete lockdown and the pandemic, where people were sitting at home with nothing to do, for most part, sadly, no income and no future to look into or hopes to have. I think in that crucial period, which nobody would have predicted, the fact that we took things slowly and did not scale up the way we could have and just waited out was the biggest thing that worked for us. So have patience with yourself and your business.
Yeah, that's such great advice. It really is, especially in the society we live in where everything is fast,
more.
Yeah. And I love the fact too, this is a mission-driven business that you run. It comes from your heart. You want to make a difference. It sounds like you want to create a legacy. So you are in it for the long haul, and you will hit, your goals. It's absolutely going to happen. I think those, right. It really is that's the driver of it all.
Yes. I think, like I said, there were times where, and this happens in any business, when you face excruciating challenges, if I may, you tend to second guess yourself. You ask, am I really doing the right thing? Is this all worth it? Is this worth anything I'm doing? Am I really on the right track? Should I have done? There's so many questions that come. And I think at that time, if your trusted party supports you, your circle tells you, yes, go ahead and we are with you, it will give you double the power in those testing times. So it's very important to have that support. And I can be, I was humbled when big companies were falling apart and shutting down during 2020. We saw a lot of that happen. JCPenney, Sears, you name it. And somehow a tiny little company like ours that not everybody has heard of still managed to stay afloat with that two tiny little products that are super effective, by the way. I'm very proud. It was reassuring to the fullest extent that we've made it past this pandemic thanks to the decisions that we made versus these big companies that invest so much and then they tank. So yeah, that is definitely something that I would advise people who are listening today.
Yeah. And you know what, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because for those of you that are listening and you have run your business prior to the pandemic and beyond, is to know that you should never forget you made it through probably one of the toughest times in the next, who knows, century.
In our living history.
Yeah. And so to remember when the tough times happen again, in one way, like just normal business stuff, like you got this.
You got this.
You did it.
You got it.
Yeah. So that's
fire in your belly, you got it.
Yeah. And speaking of that support, WBENC, who brings us this podcast, and I'm a WBE, you are a WBE. What attracted you to become part of WBENC and get certified?
Women business entrepreneurs. I mean, you've got it right there. This is our time. I feel it's very empowering. It's very supportive. The fact that there is a council like this that supports and highlights business entrepreneurs, and that being women is the first thing that, of course, attracted me to it. And to be certified by them, I almost was walking around like, oh, I've got this medal. It felt very, 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 reassuring. My heart was warm, full of gratitude. Like, oh my gosh, my company has actually been recognized, and how the lengths and breadths we go through to get certified by the council. So they don't make it easy, and I love that it was that challenging. So it felt very good when we got certified finally. And needless to say, the people behind it are amazing, beautiful women, and I feel very supported with that.
Yeah, and we need that support for sure.
Yes.
And strength in numbers. And for those of you that are listening and you haven't become certified through WBENC, you definitely want to do that, because you're going to have incredible women surrounding you, supporting you, and really lean into that. So
I would extend that offer, write to us at info@Purvari and let us know you are a WBENC, member, and we'll be very glad to help you. We are there for you.
Oh, see, exactly. This is how it works. So I love that. Thank you. As we wrap this up, and this has been fantastic, I've really enjoyed this. What are you most excited about that's around the corner for Purvari?
The creative aspect of my business is always exciting, and I love meddling with things and formulas and like a kitchen sink kind of idea, but of course with machines, but still products. I think the market is always looking for products, and there are plenty of products in the market, but there's always space to grow and improve and bring in your flavor and perspective. So we are working on that right now, new products, and hopefully now that the world is slowly opening up, opening more channels for retail partnerships and business. So just slowly but surely progressing and growing along with the support of beautiful women such as yourself and others who are listening in. Definitely.
Fantastic. Well, I know I'm putting my order in. I'm really excited to get to know about you and your business. And I love what you're doing for the planet, and really glad to know you as another
Likewise.
partner in WBENC and so forth. So I wish you incredible success. And it sounds like there is a lot of growth ahead, and we really need what you are offering. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I know for those of you listening, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have. If you haven't subscribed yet to Women Who Own It, please do. And share this with a woman business owner that you care about, because there are a lot of business owners out there that really need the support. And so until next time, until our next episode, get out there and elevate yourself, because you are worth it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.